O'Rourke race. So we shouldn't see much in San Antonio, but we should see a lot going on in Dallas if, in fact, our concern was true. And what did we find? Well, we found 1,027 times in the Dallas logs the warning that votes exceed ballots. And when that happens in a precinct, basically what it's saying is you have now loaded more votes for candidates into the computer than the ballots that were actually cast. And so between the end of early voting and election day, we saw that warning 1,027 times. And by the way, each time is not one vote. Each time can be 20, 30, 50 votes. So it can be a lot of votes here. It never appeared in the San Antonio logs. Hard database reset. Between the end of early voting and election day, we saw all the original votes get downloaded from the precincts for early voting. Reports were generated, and then the entire database of them was wiped out, and a little while later, it was reloaded by 5,000 votes. Now, this may sound familiar to you, and it is, because if you will recall, on election night, our current president was ahead in 5 key battleground states that have Democrat governors. And he was ahead comfortably in all of them. And suddenly all 5 states quit counting at the same time and went offline for 3 hours. And when they came online, suddenly massive numbers of votes. In the case of 3 states, every single vote that was suddenly found in those 3 hours was for one candidate and one candidate only. Absolutely impossible. So this result looked really bad to everybody, and we went up there and we started doing an investigation. And the first thing, now, this is some amazing video that you're seeing from CNN election night. And I want to go back and show you a little bit about this clip. First, I want to explain what's happening in this clip. What's happening in this clip is this is the live feed from Clarity Elections coming through the Associated Desk or Decision Desk HQ. So this is the live feed. You're seeing the database that Clarity has as it gets updated with votes, okay? And right now, oh, and this little ribbon at the bottom, this is generated by CNN. And they update this a second after they get the update from Clarity up here. So let's just look. Right now, Andy Beshear, who is the guy that upset Matt Bevin, the governor at the time, Andy Beshear has 673,948 votes. That ties to what the ribbon from CNN says. Same thing with Matt Bevin, 662,235. 662,235. Now, let me take you through, and real quick, I'm going to run it again. You're going to see, if you're watching just this gold, you're going to see a flash update, and then this guy's face fills the page, and then I'm going to show you what you really missed. So here we go. Watch the gold. The update's coming. Boom, there it updates, and now here's this guy. Now let me show you what you missed. We're going to drag this back frame by frame. And so here we are before the update, and now I'm going to start walking you forward. Watch the gold. Here comes the update from Clarity. Boom, there it is. So now the update, Andy Beshear has 674,508 votes. And look down below, Andy Beshear had 673,948. They haven't had a chance to update the ribbon because this is in split seconds we're looking now. So Andy Beshear has just gained 560 votes. That makes sense. That's what happens as more votes come in, right? Let's look at Matt Bevin. He now has 661,675. But look down below. He did have 662,235. At the exact same second, that Andy Beshear has gone up 560 votes, Matt Bevin has gone down 560 votes. This is vote switching in the computer. And by the way, between the 560 gain and 560 loss, you have just seen 25% of the loss amount of this race happen in front of your very eyes. What you have just seen is 560 votes added to Andy Beshear at the exact same second that 560 votes have been taken away from Matt Bevin. This is vote switching going on inside the computer. And that's 1,120 votes, which is about 25% of the entire loss margin you just saw happen before your eyes on election night from the Clarity Elections database. So, election fraud or voter fraud right now? Well, it's clearly one or the other. Many of you may have already seen this. This is Michigan, and in the dead of night in Michigan, Michigan suddenly quit counting votes for 3 hours. And when they started counting votes again, suddenly 138,339 new ballots had been found. Now, that's 2.9% of all the turnout. All of them, by the way, unattested. And they show up, and every single one of them is for Biden. So notice, Trump had 2,200,902. In this update, 2,200,902. Biden had 1,992,356. And over here, he has 2,130,695. That's the additional vote. Every single new vote is given to Biden. Jorgensen doesn't get any. Hawkins doesn't get any. Blankenship doesn't get any. This is a problem. Now, what's been learned since then is that it's being called a data input error from one particular county. But it's not an input error unless the local operator is adding votes. So, is this America or Venezuela we're living through right now? And it's a very interesting question. Essentially, 5 key battleground states with Democrat governors all suddenly quit counting at the same time in the dead of night, and then they suddenly resumed 3 hours later. Trump was comfortably ahead in all 5 of them when they stopped. When counting resumed 3 hours later, enough new ballots had been found in all 5 states, 5 out of 5, that suddenly Biden is caught up. Even more incredibly, virtually every single found ballot in most of the states was for Biden. And unsurprisingly, in Michigan, it's now known that the votes were a bogus file upload. So, and one state, Wisconsin, now has more votes than their entire registered voters. Nationally, that turnout was 50 to 60%, which is huge, but 100+% is really huge.